Today, on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat, Two Rivers Boatworks takes delivery of the custom 27 build from Stuart Boatworks for a high-end paint job.
It was quite an honor for Stuart Boatworks to approach us about doing this job for them, especially the type of job that they wanted.
George Labonte joins Dreamboat owner Jim Wells aboard his one-off 28 Bertram.
And this is absolutely, without a doubt, the most massive undertaking that we've seen in a one-man Dreamboat project to date.
Wildfire Marine works overtime to complete the 25-foot Mako project in time for delivery.
About 5 o'clock, Brian and his wife showed up at the shop. They were ready to head down to the Keys. We still had a lot of work to do.
And Two Rivers Boatworks nears completion of the 36-foot Yellowfin.
Now we get to the good part where we start making the boat awesome.
All coming up on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join us as we follow one-off builds to all-out restorations in Stuart, Florida's Dreamboat District, home to some of the best custom boat builders in the world. From modest to over-the-top, industry experts from the district's premier facilities show how it's done. Fiberglass repair, custom paintwork, engine rigging, electronics installations, and more. And boating editor George Labonte shares the stories of boaters who have already turned their dreams into reality. This is Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat.
At Two Rivers Boatworks, we got contacted by Stuart Boatworks, who happen to be our next door neighbors, about doing a custom paint job on a brand new boat for one of their customers. It was quite an honor for Stuart Boatworks to approach us about doing this job for them, especially the type of job that they wanted. It was not just a normal paint job. It's a custom metallic paint job with possibly two of the hardest colors to get even and straight, no blotches, really, really difficult. When we got this job from Stuart Boatworks, because it's a new build, we were fortunate enough to get the boat in various components, which makes painting a lot easier. We got the cap first. We prepared the cap, we got the base down, we got one coat of clear down on it. It looks awesome. And then we had to prep the tow rail for Monique. Monique came in and did her faux-teak, and boy, you're hard-pressed to tell that that's not teak. She did a fantastic job. She's probably one of the best at what she does. She finished up. We got a couple more coats of clear on the boat. We then started prepping the inside of the boat for paint. When you put the metallics on it, it's going to magnify that slight imperfection. So we really took our time and filled and fed that boat until everything was perfect and looked just right. What people often don't realize is that when you paint a boat, 98% of the job is all about the preparation. When the guy comes and he puts his paint over, he's got to be good, but he's only as good as the work that was done before. And I really think that my team went above and beyond in getting the prep work done on that. They worked really, really hard. They worked long hours, and they did a fantastic job. And I'm really proud of the work my team did on that boat. The owner of the boat also found out about a new all grip product called the HDT Clear. It's a very, very hard clear. It has a lot of depth to the clear. The only thing about this clear is it's not just a straightforward clear to paint. You almost need a degree in chemistry just to mix the clear. So basically, we spray the clear on, we've got to let it cure, we've got to sand it again before we put the next coat of clear on. So essentially, it ends up being a job where you are literally painting a boat 3 times. But the quality of clear over that SE metallic is spectacular. So Monique came in, she's done the tow rail. We've got the clear on. It is looking awesome. I'm so excited about this project. I really have a good feeling of what it's going to look like at the end.
When we return, FS Boating editor George Labonte joins Dreamboat owner Jim Wells aboard his completely customized 28-foot Bertram in this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment. This segment brought to you by Armstrong. Experience the Armstrong advantage.
Do you have the Armstrong advantage? In its most basic form, an Armstrong outboard bracket improves the efficiency of your outboard motor. This equates to a faster time to plane and higher top speeds. The list of advantages continue with improved maneuverability, added space, and a quieter ride. Adding a swim platform, accompanied by an Armstrong boarding ladder, will certainly add to your day out on the water. Isn't it time for you to gain the Armstrong advantage?
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman Project Dreamboat. Join us for this week's One Man's Dreamboat segment with Florida Sportsman boating editor George Labonte as we feature anglers who have already launched their dream. Florida Sportsman began these features 30 years ago, and the dreams just keep getting better.
Today we're in Palm Beach, Florida to meet up with Jim Wells and have a look at his 28-foot Bertram conversion from a flybridge boat to a classic center console design. And this is absolutely, without a doubt, the most massive undertaking that we've seen in a one-man's dreamboat project to date.
I had a Bertram probably about 15 years ago. I bought a Bertram and had the inboard engines in it. And somebody had sent me a link to another Bertram that had 250s on it, and the performance was unbelievable. So a 30-mile-per-hour boat now does 55 miles per hour, the one that I was looking at. I started looking for a 28 Bertram to convert over to the outboards. My son and I kind of sat down and started designing and ended up on a center console design. But the Bertrams, have always run really well, and I, always have liked them. And the other benefit was you could pick them up literally for $500 to $1,000.
And Jim did just that. He finally had a blank canvas to start working on his masterpiece.
My first step when I got it was to cut the fly bridge off of it and get it so that it was more trailerable, easier to manage. And from there, really, the first thing I did was built the bracket. So in my driveway right in North Palm, made a mold out of melamine and began to build the bracket. It took about a week. Once the bracket was done, really started then to move inside. I had done the transom as well, recored it, and I did everything in wood because the boat had a lot of wood in it and needed the weight. I like working with composites, but in the case of the Bertram, it's almost detrimental because you take too much weight out of it by using the composites. After got the inside, the transom and the bracket done, started actually working on the floor. So at that point, it was a wide open shell inside of it, and really started laying out what I want the decks to look like, where's the fuel gonna go. And on that particular build, I was kind of thinking through it as I was building. And then the next step was really the gunnels. Did some study on what the height should be of those. We're shooting for about 27 inches in the back, and then ran the gunnels up and kind of made those even with where the floor met the hull, and just kind of working through all those details as we went. And about 6 months into it, we had what looked like a center console shell. Then we started designing the console itself, which was a first for me, the way that we actually built that and what it took to build it. So basically made a male mold, decked it out with Divinycell foam, and then began laying up fiberglass on the outside of it, banged out the molds from the inside, and went through the process on the inside. And then the real fun began with the fairing process. So my son and I have faired that console no less than probably 9 times total before we put the first coat of paint on it. And there, really, it was about the finish work. We built the seating arrangement, and it was from there really a lot of fill and fairing on the entire boat. In the middle of all that, we actually rolled the boat over. So had a crane pick it up off the trailer, flip it over 180 degrees so we could grind the bottom off of it. Put a couple coats of epoxy and fiberglass on the bottom of it to strengthen it up and get rid of any of the gel coat blisters, and then refair the entire hull bottom. And then ultimately, once that was done, we were in primer and flipped it back over, and from there it was all fair and finish until we got a paint job. And I built a spray booth, believe it or not, in my front yard and in a residential area, so my neighbors are very forgiving. Sprayed it, put the 250s on it, and it's been spectacular. I mean, it's really run great and exceeded my expectations for sure. And then once it ran good, we We had Birdsall build a walk-around tower, something that I had always wanted, and the tower, I think, finishes the boat off. It's unique, and we definitely get a lot of looks because of it. Start to finish, it was about a 3-year process. From the time we picked it up in Key Largo to the time we got it on the water.
Although Jim's not a boat builder by trade, the amount of ability that he shows in this craft is amazing. From fabrication, building molds, finish work, all the little details that make this project so special really show he's transcended the abilities of the average backyard boat worker.
We primarily use it, fish off of Palm Beach, love to sail fish. Taking it to the Bahamas, it's made its 3rd trip recently and getting ready for its 4th. Just really enjoy getting the family out on it. My son and I tend to use it the most of the 4 of us, but my wife and daughter love it as well. So really for us, it's a family tool, if you will, something for us to all enjoy together.
When shooting these segments, I always have a tendency to ask the people, is this their dream boat, and is this the last one they're ever gonna do? Now this boat may be Jim's dream boat for now, but I've already seen his next project underway and it looks really exciting. I can't wait to see how it turns out.
After an initial investment of $700 and spending $75,000 on repairs and custom modifications, the cost of Jim's dream boat comes to a total of $75,700. When we come back, Wildfire Marine puts in overtime on the 25-foot Mako project, with the owner ready for its return to the Florida Keys. This segment brought to you by Bennett, superior by design.
50 years ago, Bennett Marine changed boating forever, inventing the trim tab, helping boaters get on plane faster, reduce bow rise, correct listing, improve efficiency, and increase performance. Over 1 million systems later, worldwide, we offer durable and dependable trim tabs and hatch lifters for all boat sizes. Your only source for both hydraulic and electric systems. Industry-leading innovation, plus the best warranty and service available. Get Bennett on board and enjoy the ride.
Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join the team at Wildfire Marine as they finalize the 25-foot Mako project on deadline for its journey back to the Florida Keys.
Here on Brian's 25 Mako, this wasn't one of our full restorations. This came in for just some repair work. We ended up doing a little bit more than we expected, but about 5 o'clock, Brian and his wife showed up at the shop. They were ready to head down to the Keys. We still had a lot of work to do. You get a little nerve-wracking when you're testing because you hope everything every switch you turn on works, which thankfully everything did. And so he got the boat. We left at about 9 o'clock. He texted me the next day. He had taken the boat out, and he said the boat ran tremendously better than it did before, and he's thrilled beyond belief.
So this was my grandfather's boat. I grew up fishing on his lap here on the boat, and you know, we call him Papaw, and so I named the boat Papaw's Legacy. He means a lot to the family. He's always been kind of like the nucleus to the family, and you know, and he's always taken care of us in many ways. And you know, redoing this boat was a way to give back and show him that, you know, we got this covered.
Oh, the improvements he put on it are just overwhelming. It just blows my mind. Like the name, like everything about it. Brian is my #1.
It was my main goal, you know, as he gets up in age, to get him back out here and enjoy it. I wanted him to see, you know, that it's in good hands. It's going to be taken care of for the next generation.
When I gave it to him, then he started refurbishing it. He loved it, and all of them did, but he's the only one that was able to financially to take on the project.
He's been through quite a few engines, you know, older school, like 2 strokes, loud, very loud. And when he first got on here, and you know, I turned her on, she was, yeah, so quiet, and I think he was blown away about how quiet it was. You know, you can have a full-fledged conversation, even running, you can have a pretty good conversation. So
I can't believe that when it runs, you can't hear it. And the 4-stroke, you don't have to mix the oil anymore, which is about $26 a gallon now at Walmart or someplace like that.
I think for him, I mean, he's a true fisherman, always has been, and I think, you know, closing off that transom and not having that low back area like the old school Makos had, I think he really liked that. It really trusts out the boat, and I think it's made for fishing. It opened up that back half, you know. I think before we had the 300 Suzuki on there, and it dropped the stern down, bringing that flotation bracket and the way it sits and makes the boat sit. It just really brings that stern up where it needs to be and makes it feel more comfortable, even just sitting in the water. I think adding the Armstrong bracket's a big game changer for, you know, scuba diving and snorkeling. You know, we like to go to Lou Key right off here in Ramrod, and I think my kids and my father will enjoy it. My dad likes to dive, and I'm the captain while he does it, and I think he's gonna love getting in and out of the boat. Adding the trim tabs definitely is also a game changer. Puts the boat on plane quicker, makes for a better ride completely. You know, it was a complete change from the way it was, you know. A lot more modern look, obviously, but everybody can still identify it as an old school classic Mako, which is really cool. You know, when we're going out there to use the boat, we get stopped a lot, and people ask us, you know, wow, is that an old Mako? And we're like, yeah, and they say we did a good job. You know, I feel like we did. I feel like he likes it. I think he's gonna, you know, he enjoyed going out on it for sure. You know, brought him back a little bit, you know.
Well, every time we go someplace, everybody's commenting on it. And he says his agreement with it, I guess, is that he's going to keep it for everybody down here, and it'll be here when he's gone.
Obviously, this being a legacy boat, I want to carry it on from generation to generation, make it last as long as possible. I want to eventually possibly pass this on to my family, my kids. I have 2 daughters, beautiful daughters, and I'd love for them to get into boating, and it seems like they already have, and I want them to enjoy it. I want to teach them things that I've learned from Papa, my grandfather, and you know, hopefully carry on the tradition. I think it's very important.
When we come back, Two Rivers Boatworks continues rigging on the custom 36-foot Yellowfin. This segment brought to you by Suzuki Marine, the ultimate outboard motor. Welcome back to Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Join the crew at Two Rivers Boatworks as they continue rigging on the 36-foot Yellowfin.
Okay, so over at Two Rivers Boatworks, we've got a 36 Yellowfin in. It's had an extensive amount of work done. It's over in rigging now, and one of the most exciting things for me when we're rigging a boat is putting a really hardcore sound system in. And we've added a few extra subs, another amplifier. So I really think this sound system is going to be something special, and I think it's going to kick. While the sound system's been installed, we put in a jack plate on the back of the boat. The owner of this boat has elected to do, and quite a few Yellowfin guys are doing, is they're taking their motors from 28 off center to 26 off center. It gives them another 3 or 4 miles an hour. You need to bear in mind that these boats were not designed to have the motors at 26 off center. So the guys have some work cut out for them to make sure that it's absolutely perfect, that he can go to wide open throttle and his motors are not going to fall off.
I'm Nate, I'm working on the 36 Yellowfin. Dale's got me putting the jack plates on. First thing we had to do was find the center line on the boat. So we took a measurement for the whole back of the transom of the boat. We divided it in half. We found our rough center line there. We checked that center line 5-6 times, made sure that it was perfect. Dale wouldn't have it any other way. So we made a cardboard template off of the back of the plate. That way we don't have to hold this heavy jack plate up to the back of the boat trying to make our markings. There's things in the way you can't get to make a perfect mark. So we used a piece of door skin, we laid it on the back of the backing plate, and we made that fit exactly to the shape of the jack plate. I wasn't quite sure where I was going to place it height-wise, So I called the manufacturer. They gave me some advice. They told me to hang it exactly flush with the back of the transom. At that point, I screwed the template to the boat to ensure that it's not going to move at all anymore. From there, we have a template for the motor holes that we use to make sure that the drill bit goes in perfectly straight. It's super imperative that that doesn't go crooked or it doesn't walk on you at all. If that happens, then the bolts simply just won't line up with the bracket. So we needed to have some backing plates fabricated for it. I was going to maybe make a bar to go across all of the holes in the back to spread the load across the whole weight of the jack plate. But unfortunately on this boat, the stringers wouldn't allow that. So from there, I had to have Scott customize the plates for me and make something a little more special that was going to work for this boat.
Like everything else on this boat, we beefed everything up, including the backing plates. So we got stock and made our own. I cut them up every 3 inches. If you have a 3x3, you run 45-degree angle, corner to corner, corner to corner. There's your center mark. So that was our way of getting around making the bars. And it's more than adequate.
We have the backing plates made. Scott did a great job on those. We had to call Daryl in to help us lift this thing. 2 men can't do it by themselves, so we had to bring the muscle in. So now with the jack plate in place, some of the bolts came out really close to the stringers that we couldn't fit our backing plates on there that we made, so Scott had to modify those a little bit further to get them to work and sit flush on the transom inside.
At that time, 26 on center wasn't a big thing. And the stringers were placed where they were placed. You have to work around it. It's all part of the job.
Now that the backing plates have been modified, we basically had to modify 10 out of 12 of the backing plates to fit in a specific spot inside the transom. And we can't really see inside, we can't get a light in there, we can't get our eyes inside. We've got a scope that has a light on the end of it. It's a camera that has a screen attached to the other end. It takes some getting used to for sure, but it definitely helps you get an eye on what you're looking at inside a dark hole. We're on a time crunch on this boat. Dale wanted these jack plates on yesterday, so we're in here full force. Scott and I are going to make sure that we get this done by the end of today.
The guys have really worked hard on fabricating plates for the jack plate and all that sort of thing. It's a matter now of getting the correct torque settings on the nuts and bolts, getting the motors on. Another neat thing we're doing, we're running all the hydraulic lines and that below deck. So it's really going to be a clean installation. Can't wait to see this boat on the water. It needs to be on the water by the end of the week.
Next week on Florida Sportsman, Project Dreamboat. Wildfire Marine gets back to work on the 23-foot Seacraft restoration. Two Rivers Boatworks puts in overtime to complete the 36-foot Yellowfin. George Labonte joins Dreamboat owner Steve Oatman aboard his dive-inspired Worldcat. And L&H rigs and sea trials the 36-foot Billy Knowles project.